Hi, guys. Welcome to my second ever episode of the Well Woman podcast. I'm so excited again to be here this week. I saw all the likes, the subscription. Oh my God, thank you guys so much. I'm so happy. So today, I'll be sharing about my story because I wanted you guys to connect with me and know who is this Sandra Gloria in the first place? Why do I have to listen to her? What gives her the right to even, talk to me about life in Canada or mental wellness or anything, right? So I just felt that this would be a good way to share my story. And I don't know if my story resonates with someone else. And if it does, please send me a message through the link provided in the description below. And if you're also looking for tools that I've used, that I even talk about in this podcast, send me a message as well. My name is Sandra Gloria again, and I'm just going to start with my journey to Canada. So I grew up in Delta State. I don't know, shout out Asaba, Nigeria. And from a very young age, my mom and my dad, they always, told me, oh, you're going to be a doctor. And I think most of that was because I was very smart. That would be my honest truth, that I was pretty smart. And so they always told me like, oh yes, you're going to be a doctor. So I already grew up with that realization, like go to school, become a doctor. And I really loved reading. I loved reading, like reading very hard books. And I was always very fascinated about like the mind, like, what's going on in people's minds, like how does this mind even work? So I already, when they just said, yeah, you're going to be a doctor, I already started going through that trajectory. So fast forward, I went to secondary school. I was in a boarding house. Life was going okay. And then I got into the university. Well, first year I did well. Second year, third year. And third year, almighty anatomy and physiology. Well, let us say I was physiologist because I didn't pass the first time. Well, I cried. I told my mom, and she's like, okay, well, no problem. Things happen. Do it again. And mind you, I was in a private university, so they were paying a significant amount of money. Took it the second time. Well, I failed again. And I was passing the other courses, but it was just that anatomy and physiology. And my mom was like, you're smart, why are you failing? And all that, there was that pressure. At that time, honestly, I was young and I also wanted to have fun, party and all that. This another was bombing me like crazy. Well, I now did the third time I failed. I said, I'm not doing again. All my mates, they've already gone to like fifth year. Me, I was still here being jammed by anatomy and physiology. So that day, I just told my friend I couldn't bring myself to even call my mom, and that was the expectation. I knew that they were expecting, like, in fact, not even my mom and my dad, my uncles, my aunties, grandmoms, friends, family, everybody was expecting Tokpe, Sandra Gloria, Tokpe, the doctor. There was that expectation. So I just told my friend then in school, I just said, please call my mom. At least my mom listens to that, my friend there. So I said, please call my mom and tell her. If I call her through the phone, she will kill me. That one is for sure. I would die. So my friend called. I could hear her screaming, give the phone to Sandra Gloria. Give the phone to her. Hey, I was like, hey, I'm there though. When she called, she just said, start coming back home. This is me. I was far away in Edo State. She's like, start coming back home because I don't understand what you are saying. That you failed again after all. I even did extracurricular, all those things. This is another say, mommy, I'm not coming back home, but me, I'm not doing medicine again. Also, I'll say, I just gave the phone back to my friend. She was calling me throughout. She just said I should start coming back. Well, as an obedient daughter that I was, I did go back home. When I went back home, they held family meeting, with even family abroad. Everybody, they had this. It was a conference meeting they had called that time, long time ago. My uncle. Then that was time phones was still quite new, but my mom and her siblings, they were already they used to communicate a lot. So they had called. Tokwe, Sandy said she's not doing medicine again. Hey, okay. They shouted, talked, we expected more from you. You that is very smart. You that is this. After they finished talking like this now, okay. Then I asked me, okay, so what do you want to do? That was first of all the first point in my life where I didn't even know what I wanted to do with my life. You know, because they had always expected a doctor. So now you're asking me what I want to do. For 1 week, I locked myself inside the room. My mom self was not even worried. I was crying. I was like, what do I want to? What do I even like? All of a sudden you just asked me that question. What do I as in like? I couldn't. I was crying first time in my life that I felt lost. I felt lost. Like I couldn't figure it out. I cried. Then at least I knew God because I grew up in a Christian home. I prayed. I said, God, I don't know what to do. As in, that was how lost I felt, right? My uncle and all of them, then that's okay. You love science, you love this, you are smart. Okay, why don't you do microbiology and all that? I was fine. At first, I was like microbiology. So I'll not start from wanting to study human beings. I'll not start studying microorganisms. I was okay, but since I did not know what I want to do now, let me share do so that at least I can graduate. That's how me and I went to do microbiology. I excelled. I very wonderful grades, passed all that. Okay. After that, my parents gave me an ultimatum. Okay, since you've done this microbiology, shall you go and do your masters? I say masters in what? I knew I would go ahead, but masters in what now? My dear people, I did not know. I did not know what I wanted to do in my life. That's how one auntie came and say, nursing. I say nursing, but where, how, me? I did not like nurses at all. When I was growing up, there was a nurse that gave me injection. My bum swelled up. I said, me, be nurse. Nurses are wicked people. She now told me, say, no, abroad, in Canada, nurses are different. They're the core of the healthcare. Hey, well, she sold me a little. That's how I now packed my bag. My parents told me, this is the last school fees we are paying for you. After this, you are on your own. I was grateful. I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity. And in this journey I had been going, one thing that I had always done that I didn't even realize that till like a couple of years ago, I've always loved buying and selling. You see, business. If you say, Sandy, I like this shirt. Well, I'm taking it off. I'll sell it to you. Then go and buy another one. But I didn't know that was something that, I really enjoyed doing. I just felt it was just, I just know how to, psych people to buy and sell things. So when I came to Canada, I remember when I came, it was not cold like that, but when I entered, I was first sick, being far away from home. I didn't know anybody. Well, I won't say I didn't really know anybody. There was the auntie here, but she was in a different place from where I was supposed to go to school. Got a house, like, I'm really shout out to the Nigerian community in Toronto because even when I didn't know anybody, they came and, from church, they, supported me, helped me get an accommodation. And then, my first winter, hey, I almost lost my foot. It was so cold that when I got into my house, I had to put my leg in hot water. See, you nursing students, you don't even know those kind of things. Well, that was good. I went through nursing school. See the anatomy that was bombing me. That was not my best subject. So I was like, God. But in that moment, I knew that, your journey, no matter how much you look at it, sometimes even the failures, even the regrets, everything, the mistakes, if you're a believer, that your steps are ordered by God. So I got to that realization. Well, I finished school. I was, the expectation was still there from my parents. You have to, is your grade? Are you on a 4 point GPA? What's your grade? You have to do well. And I had to work. I had to work and school at the same time, which was the first thing for me, So, but I was able to do that, and I graduated. And first job, okay, now get job, wahala. I remember that my first nursing job, um, I had to travel 4 hours, you know, for that first job. I took eyes in because 6 months I was still applying, nobody was calling me. So when I got that 4 hours job 4 hours away, I jumped at the opportunity. And I remember there, I was the only black person in that unit. If I very well, if I remember very correctly, I was the only black person. But you know what? I didn't really feel like I didn't belong because I knew, okay, I went to school. I knew what I was doing, so I didn't really care. When they were screaming all those talks of people not belonging, I say me. I've come here to stay, so I didn't even think about. I didn't put my mind into all those things. After all that, I got married, um and that was where, like, I feel like everything, you think that marriage would, oh, so good and all that, but I think that was where, like, most of the RTS started from. Basically, I got married. It was wonderful first year, and then so when is baby coming? We just got married. When is baby coming? I got pregnant. I had a miscarriage. Even in that period, I kept receiving calls. So when are we expecting? But nobody knew what I was going through. Like, I had 4 miscarriages before I had my first child, right? I was going through so much. But people expectations, guys, don't be pressured though. Don't let people's expectations rob you of your joy. But they kept pressuring me, like, they were kept asking, why are you watching my womb? See, people, don't be asking people, young couples, question, because you don't know what they are going through inside, right? When they want to give birth, let them give birth. When they give birth, come and rejoice with them. Don't be watching their womb unnecessarily. Well, I was going through that, and the last miscarriage I had, I fell down at work, you know that, which was very weird. I fell down at work, and in that moment, I knew something had happened. I went, they checked me out, everything was fine. But by the next 2 days, I had lost the baby. It was very painful for me. I couldn't, I remember laying down on the bed. When I saw blood coming, I knew, oh my God, again. I remember laying on the bed, and they asked me, like, oh, is there anybody we could call? My husband was 4 hours away. And I'm like, no, there's no one to call. I'd already called my husband, and I told him what had happened, right? And I was just crying. I was just bawling, and I was like, I didn't even know. As in, I felt ashamed. Like, you can't even keep a baby. That kind of, like, I was feeling very defeated with myself. And they gave me, the numbers, like, call this line and all that. When I called, tell the people, it felt like they were not even understanding where I was coming from. Well, thank God for Hallelujah Challenge. I participated, and that year I had my first child. Life was going so good. I was already, everything was, I didn't even think about that, mental stress and all that. I just felt, you are working, you are doing everything you're supposed to be doing, right? So I didn't think so much about it. Had my first child, okay. It now became an emergency C-section. Okay. I came back from the hospital. Wow, that pain was insane. It was insane. I was like, how are you sending me out of the hospital? Don't forget, me, I'm a nurse already. So it's not as if I didn't know how things work in the hospital. So this gave me a different perspective on, being a provider and now being a patient. So the way I started approaching care was totally different. I went home, I was crying. I've been reading postpartum depression, postpartum this. It hits me. I didn't even know it hits me. I'll just be crying. I was like, I'm in pain. My husband said didn't even know. He was tired. Like, the guy didn't even know what to do. My mom couldn't make it on time. So she had planned to come even before I had the baby, but things with visa didn't let her come. By the time she got here, hmm, thank God, community. This is why RTS is very big on community, because when you have a supportive community, trust me, you can, even when you're going through, that valley of darkness, that community can hold you, or they can even be that flicker of light you need. Shout out to Mommy Abby. That woman, I didn't know her before from anywhere. I met her in the church, but she took me as her daughter. During that process, she came, she helped me, she cooked for well, community is very important, ladies. It's very important. To everybody, it's very, very important. I mean, I didn't know anybody in my community where I lived. Where like, if I go to the grocery store, me and my husband were like the only black people there. So it was a growing community. So there were not a lot of black people. So with that woman, stepping in, it was very wonderful. Life was still going good. We're still going through things. Then I had a second, I planned to go back to school to become a registered nurse. I had applied. I was like, oh God, is this when I should go? And, I had that confirmation. So I applied to schools, and then I got admitted. So I was going to start school the next year. And then all of a sudden, I found out I was pregnant. This is me that before, to keep baby was wahala. But this one, I didn't even know I was pregnant till like almost 8 weeks. I was even worried. I was even scared to even tell my husband, because I was like, we had planned that maybe after school, or you now, have a second child, if at all. That's it. When I now calculated, I say, are you trying to tell me that when I have these babies, when I will now start school, he will be barely a month? Ha. And I said, God, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure this is what I should be doing? Well, I still had that, that peace that yes, I should still go ahead. Shout out to my mom. She came, she stayed with me even before I had the baby, and then I had my son. And this time around, the postpartum journey was better because I knew what to expect. And then 6 weeks later, unfortunately, my mom had to go back, right? And then I started school. That was another journey on its own. My husband was working far away, so it was just me and my 2 sons. I don't know. Like, when people ask me, how was that journey? I say I can't remember. It's a blur right now, because it was so intense with a 6-month-old and an 18-month-old. It was so intense that it felt like I was going crazy. But I was like, maybe I should stop. I was like, stop, Kay. You can't stop now. Like, I knew where I wanted to go. And then in that period, I remembered I was still working casual. Like, so casual means like you pick up shift when you can. So when my husband was around, like on the weekend, because I needed to still keep my license, I would go pick up a shift. That day, I just felt uneasy. I didn't, you just feel something. So I was just praying. And why my husband even came back, he lost his job. So this was me. That was even why I was even still working. Let's be honest. So this was me figuring out, hey, we have mortgage to pay. And then we had car we had to pay for. And now, husband has lost job. At least when he was working, and I'm in school. I said, God, are you sure you still want me to pursue? You know where David was at? I said, are you sure you still want me to pursue? Well, I still had that conviction that I was where I was supposed to be. I remember that day I was just uneasy, feeling something was not. So I just started praying. So I was on the floor for I never put my phone, like I never leave my phone on to ring out. But that day I just put it on vibrate, It's always on silent, like forever on silent mode, because I walk on the floor. And then that day, my phone kept vibrating. So I had to take it. I just told my colleague, like, excuse me, that I needed to quickly go answer a call. And I think it was from the hospital. They were like, oh, are you the mother of? I was like, yes, this is her. And they're like, oh, that your son is being transported to the children's hospital. I was like, why? What happened? So they're like, yes, that your husband is coming now, and we needed to let you know. I just went straight to my supervisor. I was like, I don't know what's happening. They didn't give me much information, but I need to start going to the children's hospital right now. That my son who is It was just 3 at that time. It was 2 plus, not even 3 yet. Going to the children's hospital. Yeah, he just turned 3 in September. So yeah, it was 3 plus. I remember driving, like, I didn't know, as in, I just kept crying. As I was crying, I was like, Lord, I just kept praying for him, because I still didn't know. I tried calling my husband, he wasn't answering. I was scared, like, okay, what about my baby that I left, my son that I left at home? So many thoughts were going through my head. So I just called one of my friend. I just said, Blessing, I don't know what's happening. She asked, okay, where is your other baby? I was like, I don't know. My husband is not answering. So she's like, I'll try to call. When I eventually spoke to my husband, I was like, what happened? And I was like, your son was shaking. Like our son was shaking. I was like, what do you mean he was shaking? He didn't even know how to explain it. Now I laugh, but at that moment it wasn't funny. So when I got there, they told me he had seizures. I was like, from where? How? I was like, what happened? No one could explain what had happened. That was just, and the seizures were so continuous. Like, even while they were giving him medications to stop it, it wasn't even stopping. So they had to sedate him. And this was a 3-year-old. I was like, this promised child. This was the same child that I already had 4 miscarriages prior to. I was just praying. I called my mom immediately. You know how parents can be, right? And they were, she was crying. She was like, should I start coming? You are in Nigeria. I just said everything will be fine. So I kept going with, it is well. It is well. Well, let's just say that journey, it changed everything, because it changed even parenting and everything. Like, the whole journey just changed. My son was diagnosed. He was already diagnosed with autism because he wasn't speaking, and now he was diagnosed with epileptic seizures. It was so hard to control. So for the next 3 years of our lives, while I was still in school, you know, we couldn't even leave him anywhere. Like, he would have like 10 seizures in a day. When in the hospital in and out, we're sleeping in the hospital. My kid, I'll be in the hospital. I had an exam. I'll tie my other kid in on my back while I'm studying. My husband, it was a lot, but I thank God for the community of women that I had, my friends, you know, because when I think about it now, I don't know. I really don't know how I survived those moments. I kept saying, when people asked me, how are you? I kept saying, I'm fine. Because I wanted to be strong. Like, if I'm not fine, what would happen? Right? My friends will pray, they'll pray over me, they'll call me. Sometimes I couldn't even cook, I couldn't do anything. But I was still, I still had that goal to finish school. I still kept pushing. I still, I didn't think much about my mental health. I just felt, you know what, I'm okay. I prayed, my faith was helping me. Then I started journaling, and I kept writing a letter to myself, like, dear me, in this time. I never thought I would be, I even asked the question, but why my son? But God told me one thing, is like, well, then who would it have been, right? My mom, it was third year. I was third year, and they brought an opportunity for us to fast track, and I took it. And I called my mom, and I said, Mommy, I need help. I'm like, I can't continue. I need help. If I have to finish, I need help. But how can you help me? My mom, she still worked, right? She said, my dear, what is this work? What am I doing here? If my child needs help, I'm coming. My mom came. She took 9 months of her life. She left it. She put her work online. I thank God for her bosses who let her do that. And she came. And I was able to finish. And in that moment, I started having friends, their children started going through things like this that I just navigated. So I knew that, oh, well, I guess your pain was going to serve a purpose, So this was me now even encouraging people that, oh my God, all of a sudden the child started having seizures. Like, I was there. Okay, this is how you navigate this. This is what you do. This is how what you should ask the doctors for. This is this, right? I started becoming that resource for these women. I finished school, everything was going fine. I graduated, good grades. I even got a job immediately, like right out of school, the job I had prayed for. Beautiful, intensive care, of course. It was a goal I had, for my clinical skills. I started doing that. And 2 years working there, every day I go in to work, I'm literally, I would say, like, the life of someone is literally in my hands. Any little mistake could make someone die. That's how my patients are very critical. Every day I always like, Lord, help me. And one day I just couldn't anymore. When I used to hear people say like, oh, burnout, oh, this, I would not say I dismissed it. I'm a healthcare worker. I didn't dismiss it, but it's different when you go through stuff, right? But this was me. I just woke up one day and I just could not. I was so tired. No matter how much I slept, I couldn't just recover. I even didn't want to pray, honestly. I took a God vacation, if you say that. That was how tired I was. My soul was tired. My mom would call. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And in that period, then I started noticing things about my body. Like one day at work, I had collapsed out of nowhere, out of the blue. It was not like I was hungry, nothing. I just collapsed. They checked me out, did all the blood works, everything was fine. So I knew my body was beginning to give me signs. I wasn't I was eating right at that moment. I had even lost weight because I was like trying to get my target weight. I didn't do that in a drastic way, in a realistic way. But all of a sudden I collapsed. And I just started feeling my heart, like, my heartbeat was no longer, it was becoming irregular. I just like, something is wrong. So when that burnout came, when I was so tired, I was like, something is really, really wrong with me. I went to my doctor. Always get my checkups. I went to my doctor. I'm like, something is really, really wrong with me. I don't know. My heart, and I explained. They checked me out. They did ECG. They did everything checked out. But I said, mm-mm. So you know what? I told myself, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't even think. My kids were literally surviving on bread and nuggets. I didn't want to even get out of bed. I didn't want to do anything. Like, you know, I couldn't even tell my husband. When I tried to explain, he didn't get it and I would just cry. He didn't understand what I was going through, but I was feeling very exhausted inside. It wasn't like physically, like it wasn't like I was just everything about me just felt like I was drained. So you know what? I advocated for myself. I told my doctor, see this heart thing I've been feeling. Give me a standing order for an ECG, so that when I feel what I'm saying I'm feeling, I'm gonna go in and get a test done. So that day I was cooking, December 24th. I was cooking and I started feeling those same palpitations. I drove myself straight to the lab and I said I had a standing order, and they put me on the monitor, the ECG machine. And I told the girl, because I'm an ICU nurse, I told the girl, like, when you finish the reading, please give me, I want to read the strip, because I do that at work. And when she finished, she gave it to me. Lo and behold, I was having up to 6 PVCs, premature ventricular complexes, in less than 1 minute. It was even a 6-second strip, but in that 6 second, I already had 8. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I remember stories of like, oh, this person was just driving, maybe they just collapsed, they went to a cardiac arrest, things like that. I was like, oh my God. So I told her thank you, and I just drove myself straight to the emergency unit. And I said, I'm having very, very frequent PVCs. You guys need to put me on a monitor right now. So and I it feels so sad because now when I think about it, what about people who don't know about these things? What about people who are not able to advocate for themselves? What if I couldn't read a rhythm strip? Because I've heard my friends tell me I was feeling like this. They went to the doctors, they dismissed them. It was like, oh, these black people, dismiss, or they even feel that, but they dismiss things about themselves, right? And so when I got there, they put me on the monitor. Oh my god! Because when they put us on, when they put you on the monitor, they have to set the alarm. Like if you are getting, mine kept, but it was just They were like, they're not there asking questions. They're like, do you have any cardiac issues? Do you do? I was like, no. So immediately we had to do some cardiac work up and all that. And so they're like, are you stressed? I was like, I don't know if I'm stressed, but I now explained how I'd been feeling, right? So they had to keep me. So this is me that just told my husband I was just going for a standing test. I had to be there overnight. They had to keep me because there was no way they were letting me go because they didn't know why. They didn't understand what was happening to me. And in that moment, I was like, I think that was the moment like all the feelings I was feeling was just coming up to the surface. Like I've been feeling so tired. I've been feeling this, my heart palpitating, all that. Because my doctor at first of all said, oh, it's probably anxiety. But I was like, what am I anxious about? I'm not thinking about anything, right? Everything is okay to me, I think. So after that day, they gave me a medication and I went home. I was following up with my doctor, and then my doctor said, you know what, let us refer you to a psychologist. And that first day I had with the lady, she asked me, so how are you? And she looked me dead in the eye when she asked that question. And I just started crying. And it's so funny how just that one question. Normally, when they just ask, how are you, say fine. Now, when I ask someone, how are you, I pause and I'll say, think about it. Don't just answer me. I started crying, and well, from everything, it felt like I had been going on speed for so long. And now everything just came crashing down. I was burnt out. I was exhausted mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, everything. And I knew I couldn't just live like that anymore. I had to start, prioritizing my wellness, especially my mental wellness. Yes, strong woman, all that. Well, I have to be well to be strong. And that's how RTS was born. Because even in just, pausing, having that break, that I would say maybe God just stopped me right there. I had to even start, rediscovering me. Why are you going on full speed all the time? Are you still wanting to please mommy, husband, expectations of people? I had to start asking myself those questions. I had to start journaling again. I used to, but I had stopped. I wasn't frequent. I started doing that. And that was where RTS was born. When I started talking to other women, especially women of color, I was hearing my same story, but from different people. A 40-year-old woman, she just collapsed. She just right there. I remember doing CPR on her, right? And she was complaining that her tooth had been aching and that she was tired because this was what her husband was saying. And I'm like, no, we can't keep going. We can't keep doing this, right? When are we going to take care of ourselves? I know, like, there is that when you come into a new country or you're transitioning to different things, there's a lot, there's a lot of expectation, there's a lot of things to do, but we can't neglect our mental health. We can't even neglect, because it starts from there. Stress now becomes the mental stress now starts affecting things physically. And then you start hearing bad stories about that's how this person died, that's how that, you know. So that's how RTS by Sandy Gloria came about. This space where women like me who are on this journey can, take that time to pause and, just really, really, self-care nowadays, I think, is overrated. They just, say this self-care thing all about. But I think self-care it's part of it, but it's about really prioritizing and reevaluating your life and really, putting your mental state at the forefront, however that might look like for anybody. And so this space is for us to share our stories, because who knows, you might just be helping somebody with your story, and you might be encouraging someone with your story. And that's why I decided to just share this story with you guys, so that you know that RTS is something that is passionate to me. I don't want us to suffer in silence. Speak up. If you're going through something, speak up. When people ask how are you, if you're really not fine, say it. Don't just say I'm fine. Because that's the only way that you can find help. So if my story resonated with you, like I said, please, in the link provided below, share yours. Send me a message too. And something that I used a lot was this journaling, and it was a dear me diary. I, wrote like, oh, dear me, to the lady in that survivor mode, to the girl in that survivor mode, and the things I learned from it, the things I want to escape from, like I want to live in that survivor mode. Write a letter to yourself who is still in that survivor mode, and then write a letter to yourself who is out of that survivor mode. Who are you? Trust me, when you start putting your feelings down onto paper, you don't know how liberating that could be. I encourage you guys to try it out today. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can just look for a piece of paper and write that, and just let your feelings out. I invite you to do this Dear Me journaling with me. And also community. I know sometimes it's like, this one, if I tell her this, but the truth is, we can't do life alone. We can't. Last week I was reading about the UK loneliness minister, because in this part of the world, hey, loneliness is a very real thing. So you need community. So I encourage you to find that community of people, and where you can be safe, and be vulnerable in that space. So thank you for another episode. Thank you for staying to the end of my rant. Please subscribe, like, and share. And you can also follow me on Instagram at RTS by Sandy Gloria. I look forward again to your questions. I look forward to your stories. I look forward to the conversations. And next week, we'll be having a guest who will be sharing about her own stories, what tools she has used to navigate, and just, this is undiluted story. We're not here to make it fancy and say it is well. Oh, I'm not saying it is not well. It is well, but while it was still being well, while we were on the journey of being well, this is what happy. See you all next week. Bye now.